Hello and welcome to Across the Balkans. Great to have you with us on the show. I'm Nafisa Latic. Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic has announced a one-month amnesty for people to turn in their illegal firearms. He also issued a 2-year ban on new gun licenses following 2 mass shootings. Last week, a 13-year-old boy killed 9 people, 8 students and the security guard at a Belgrade area elementary school with 2 pistols that belonged to his father. Just a day later, a 21-year-old gunman killed 8 people and wounded 14 others about 80 kilometers from Belgrade, reportedly using illegally obtained firearms. Though Serbia has the 3rd highest rate of civilian gun ownership in the world, it does have strong gun laws and mass shootings are quite rare. Here is how the tragic events that rocked Serbia unfolded.
Svi ljudi koji imaju oružje, to je oko 400.000 lica, ne pričamo o lovačkom oružju. Proći će reviziju, neće ostati više od 30 do 40.000 komada. Dakle, izvršit ćemo gotovo potpuno razoružanje Srbije. I legalnim, a nelegalno držanje oružja kazne će biti toliko velike, gotovo da ćemo ih udvostručiti.
Serbia announced the changes to its weapons law after 2 mass shootings in as many days. President Aleksandar Vucic says 1,000 police officers will also be sent to schools across the country, with 1,200 more to come. He has also proposed stricter medical and psychological checks for gun owners. On late Thursday, near Belgrade, a man inside a car randomly fired an automatic rifle. 8 people, including women and children, were killed, with more than a dozen others injured. After an extensive search, Serbian police arrested the 21-year-old gunman, as Vucic called the incident a terrorist attack. And it happened less than 48 hours after another mass shooting in Belgrade, this time at an elementary school. It claimed the lives of 8 students and a security guard, with several more wounded. And the shooter was a 13-year-old boy.
Je isti, kako je i sam izjavio, planirao da ovo izvrši. Ovo je bio spisak dece koju je planirao da likvidira. Sam je radio plan ulaza u školu, izlaza u školu koja je nađena na njegovom radnom stolu i, kako je sam rekao ovdje, odredio je prioritetne mete. Skica malo izgleda kao iz neke video igrice ili iz nekog horor filma, što ukazuje da je detaljno po razredima škole planirao kako da uđe u koju učionicu i kako da koje dete likvidira.
But some deny that this was an act of planned revenge.
A kaže, ona je videla pištolj i ovako prešao i on je gledao u nju, ali u nju nije pucao. A onda se pojavio spisak, baš u međuvremenu, i pogledao sam spisak i ona kaže, ali kako? Na spisku tom nema ni 2 devojčice koje su poginule. Znači, on više nije iz osvete, on je sad išao nasumično i pucao dečko.
It's now the worst mass murder in the world committed by a person under the age of 14. But under Serbian law, the boy is too young to be held criminally responsible and has now been placed in a psychiatric institution.
The boy is, as of now, in a special place. He will be placed in a special neuropsychiatric ward. His father, as the owner of weapons that were improperly kept despite having permits, was arrested. The mother has been taken in as well.
Mass shootings are rare in Serbia and the Balkans. It had last happened 10 years ago in a central Serbian village, when a Balkan war veteran killed 13 people, including his mother and son. Serbia has strict laws on gun control. Firearms have to be registered or surrendered, but during the wars of the 1990s, the region was flooded with hundreds of thousands of prohibited weapons. A recent survey places Serbia 3rd, and just behind the US and Montenegro on the list of countries with the most firearms per capita. After years of conflict, the region is now rattled by instability. and critics warn the weapons kept inside Serbian homes could be a disaster waiting to happen.
Let's go to our panel in Belgrade. We have Aleksandra Ilic. She is an associate professor at the Faculty of Security Studies at the University of Belgrade. And Darko Trifunovic, he is the director of the Institute for National and International Security. Very warm welcome to both of you to the program. Unfortunately, very sad topic to discuss on the show. Darko, let me start with you. Can you give us an idea of how big the gun problem is in Serbia in terms of the magnitude of illegal firearms that are existing in the country?
For the years, several international organizations pointed out that there is a problem in Serbia with illegal weapons, and we thought that it is exaggeration, basically, of all these things. But definitely, 2 shootings and 2 massacres actually prove opposite, and that we have to pay attention on that. As you know, in our region, it is some kind of the habit and customs that people are keeping the weapon from the World War II, not only as a trophy weapons, but also after the civil wars and bloody civil wars in the 90s. A lot of people kept the weapons out in their own homes, and we thought that strict measures regarding the possession of weapons, that it was introduced from 90s up to now, particularly to carry the weapons. It's extremely difficult to obtain license to carry the weapons in Serbia. We thought that this kind of the strict measure will actually bring and give us some kind of the positive results. But obviously, this is not the case of only legal weapons in illegal possessions, as we witnessed. It's also a case of the weapons of illegal possession, and now we will see outcome of the government activities. But we have to come back what caused basically strict now new strict regulations in Serbia. It is 2 massacres. But when we come back a little bit in the past, we have to understand that all the government measures is related to the consequence, not even one related to the essence. And essence is basically demotivations of our kids for any kind of the form of violence, etc., etc. The Faculty of Security Studies that our colleagues is coming from started in 2012 with the projects Security in Schools. And it's ongoing projects, but obviously the ministry and some politicians ignore research, ignore advice from the science, and now we are facing with the consequence.
Right, something obviously doesn't work, and as you mentioned, this is not the case just in Serbia, but every other country in the region has been alarmed as well. Aleksandra, the Serbian authorities, they have issued several measures. Among them, they have called on those who are in possession of illegal weapons to hand them over to the nearest police station this month. No questions asked. Do you think we will see many people actually doing this? And will it help?
Well, it will help maybe to some extent, because you will have some people who will decide to bring that illegal weapon to the nearest police station because they were afraid in previous period to do such things. But unfortunately, the most dangerous cases won't be the best solution. On the other side, you have another measures which target especially people who legally have that kind of weapons. And from that point of view, I don't think that that kind of measures will help in solving the situation. But I would just like to emphasize another thing, because we are usually talk about weapons and problems of number of illegal weapons in Republic of Serbia. But on the other side, we have to consider other things, other causes, because these are 2 individual cases. Each of them are specific causes that lead to the first case and to the second case, and that's why we have to consider other factors as well.
Right, factors as such. Aleksandra, do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, you see, when we're talking about violence, this is very difficult to explore different forms of violence, different causes of violence. From one point of view, we can analyze in general the problem of violence among young people. But that kind of violence is completely different than violence that we saw unfortunately last week. This is individual case, real individual case, and authorities has to focus on that individual case to find what was the reason in that case, how to prevent such cases in future, and the responsible of each subjects in country, not just in Serbia, in many in other countries as well, from family to school prevention and other society, of course.
Right. Well, it seems that like thousands of Serbians believe that it is the problem that needs to be tackled by the government. They went out on the streets of Belgrade in great numbers, and they're asking for the government to impose even more measures. Darko, we've heard from Aleksandar Vucic quite a strong response following the deadly shootings. He even said that neither of the killers will ever see the light of the day, even mentioned introducing the death penalty. Do you think that this is what the Serbians want to hear in this particular moment?
It's difficult to have any kind of opinions on that matter, but the key things is basically, as I said, we did not do anything to demotivate the kids. And from the first massacre to the morning, this kid has more than thousands and thousands of followers, glorifying him without feeling of consequence, without any empathy, without nothing. And the problem is deep, and the problem is also in our TVs with national frequencies, that they are frequently glorified, and they brought as analyticians war criminals, pure criminals and others. And as we all know, the kids and our children, they have some kind of the example beside their parents. They have some example, someone that they are looking for in society to identify themselves with someone. And what we give to these kids, what is the positive model in our society? So the problem is cute. It's very deep. And as professionals from the field and someone who participates from the really beginning of on the project Security in Schools of the Faculty of Security Studies given by Ministry of Education and Science, we come to the conclusion to the very end that there is a certain politicians, they don't want to even read, they don't want to follow, they don't want to impose anything what we from science actually propose them. And drop actually on a cup full of water was spilled 13 February when we organized the first national conference on security in schools, when our colleagues from schools, when they came to our institute, when they told us what is the problem and how we can solve these problems, and nobody from ministry appeared. And that's actually scared me, that ignorance on the science. And it's not the first time that in Serbia someone playing with the science, playing this kind of discriminatory rules, but that's it. It's very sad.
I wanna,
sad by all means.
Right. I have to jump in here, Darko. I don't have much time. Alexandra, you know, violent events are often covered by the media news outlets instantly. We had this coverage from hour to hour. Every detail has been shared about both incidents. Does media coverage also can inspire these type of copycat mass shootings, and what is the role of media in all this?
Well, I would just like to make some remarks about that copycat, because usually you can hear in Serbian media, especially, that second shooting is copycat crime, but it's very difficult to make that kind of conclusion, because it have to be fulfilled different circumstances to be copycat crime. I would just like to say this is some kind of prime effect. You know, when some sort of crime occurs, and it could inspire some vulnerable individuals who share same, for example, same values, same thoughts, like somebody who did the first who did the first act, but it's not exactly copycat. Media in generally cannot cause crime. It can be one factor which influence somebody who actually has that kind of behavior in self. Somebody who already plans to do something maybe similar, but media images, of course, somehow can trigger that kind of behavior.
Okay, unfortunately, I don't have any more time. Alexandra, Darko, thank you both for being our guests on Across the Balkans. The deadly shootings have sent strong shockwaves across the region, especially in Montenegro, as it shares third place with its neighbor Serbia, just behind the US and Yemen, on the list of countries with the most firearms per capita. The attack has prompted Montenegrin officials to look closer at its own gun problem, and they have already started to impose measures to cope with rising peer violence in the country. Mirjana Miladinovic reports from Podgorica.
Among all the mass shooters in the world under the age of 14, no one has ever killed so many people, and it all happened inside a Belgrade school. Although on a much smaller scale, Montenegro has also seen a rise in violence across schools, as well as among young people. And the tragedy in Serbia has set off alarm bells for decision-makers in Montenegro to take urgent action to prevent something similar from happening.
Odmah po saznanju za i jedan i drugi nemili događaj koji se desi u susjednoj državi, održao jedan kolegijum sa direktorom uprave policije, pomoćnicima uprave policije i načelnicima regionalnih centara. Jutros je dakle kompletna uprava policije podignuta na jedan veći stepen pozornosti, dakle u ovom kontekstu pratit ćemo sva dešavanja u našoj zemlji i negdje sve one jedinice koje bi trebale da budu na terenu i koje bi mogle u ovakvim situacijama da pruže direktnu pomoć građanima, bit će na jednom većem nivou.
But more shock was to follow. Just a day later, a 20-year-old man in Belgrade killed 8 people and wounded 14 others when he went on a random shooting rampage from inside his car. Everyone is trying to find if there is a pattern among the youth in Montenegro, if there are any warning signs that a similar tragedy like what happened in neighboring Serbia could happen here. Teachers say the reaction of minors to the Belgrade school shooting is worrying, with some even making threats on social media that they will do the same.
Za mene, koliko je bilo šokantno sve to što se desilo, toliko su mi bile šokantne i reakcije nakon toga. Mi vidimo kod mladih ljudi da oni nemaju osjećaj empatije prema drugima, da su sebični, da nemaju svjesnost koliko je to opasno sve što se desilo, da čak većina njih u tim nekim grupama to podržavaju, da negdje neko ko je uspio da izbjegne tu nevolju, negdje je iskazuje sreću što jednostavno njega to nije zadesilo, a ujedno ne pokazujući ni malo žal prema onima koje jeste. Tako da sve to zabrinjava.
But many believe change must start with the adults.
Mislim da je odgovor vrlo jednostavan, iako ga je teško kao problem riješiti, a to je sistem vrijednosti koji smo mi kao odrasli uspostavili i primjeri koje mi kao odrasli dajemo. Kada budemo, onaj moment kad se bude desio, nadam se da će se desiti nekada i to vrlo skoro, da shvatimo da smo upravo mi glavni krivci za ponašanje naše djece, odnosno ponašanje djece u našem društvu, da im nismo dobri primjeri, da možda mi njih nešto učimo drugačije, ali u odnosu na ono što mi pokazujemo, to se značajno razlikuje. Na ulici, ispred zgrade, u dvorištu, na igralištu, u školi.
Authorities have conceded change is needed in the way the youth are raised and educated, but even they have appealed for help.
Moramo vidjeti kako to da rješavamo. Sigurno Crna Gora nema nema neku zlatnu nit, neku zlatnu kartu koja bi mogla da bude magičan štapić da to riješi. I nadam se da će nam i roditelji pomoći u tome.
But the tragic events in Serbia have underlined another and perhaps even bigger problem, the illegal possession of weapons.
Rigoroznija kontrola kada je u pitanju izdavanje dozvola za oružje, također i restriktivniji pristup kada je u pitanju produžavanje dozvola za one ljude koji su ranije imali dozvolu, a sada je trebalo produženje tih dozvola. Također dogovoreno je da se prate sva ona lica za koja bi postojala mogućnost da posjeduju oružje. Vrlo je moguće da ćemo u narednom periodu imati neku vrstu aktivnosti koje su naravno u saradnji sa tužilaštvom, a tiče se raznih pretresa.
Serbia and Montenegro are third globally when it comes to possession of weapons per capita. Montenegrins legally possess more than 100,000 firearms, but police estimate there could be up to 80,000 more kept illegally. That would mean one firearm per each household in Montenegro, and a threat that may take a long time to eradicate. Mirjana Miladinovic, TRT World, Podgorica, Montenegro.
That's it for this week, but I want to leave you with pictures that capture the grief that is gripping Serbia and the greater region and the growing anger at this tragedy. Thanks for watching from me and the whole team here in Istanbul. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Smena ministra unutrašnjih poslova Bratislava Gašića, ministra obrazovanja Branka Ružića i šefa BIA Aleksandra Vulina. Održavanje sednice Skupštine Republike Srbije na kojoj će se razmotriti odgovornost Vlade Republike Srbije kao i bezbednosna situacija u zemlji u najkraćem mogućem roku.
Žalosno je da se sahranjuju deca, toliko dece se sahranjuju u kratkom vremenskom periodu ubijena od istih njihovih drugova. Pa to je dno dna, to nigde, to što se dešava u Teksasu, to smo već navikli, ali tamo se oružje kupuje slobodno. A ovde, odakle njima oružje, toliko oružja da imaju, to je katastrofa.
Solidarnost protiv sveprisutnog nasilja na medijima, u Skupštini, u svakodnevnom životu. Solidarnost zbog događaja koji nas potresaju, zbog izgubljene dece,